Hi, I'm Jarod Bergeron, Regional Service Manager for WTD Equipment. Today we're going to go over basic maintenance on your equipment. We're going to use the brush tripper as an example here. Checking and maintaining your fluids is probably one of the most important and most neglected items on equipment. Making sure your equipment is level when you're checking your fluids is probably the most important thing, and just making sure that you're doing your fluid checks daily. Some of these newer machines with the modern day engines, this Ford for an example, it does have internal plastic components, timing chain tensioners to be specific, or timing chain guides, and lack of lubrication with a metal chain on a plastic timing chain guide can definitely cause it to wear out prematurely. So ensuring that the oil level is maintained and you service your engine oil per engine manufacturer recommendations is best. You'll also want to make sure you're checking your coolant level. Just make sure that you're not doing it when it's hot. It's got to be cold. Checking your air filters, making sure that they are not too dirty, and replacing them, not blowing them out. Because when you tend to blow out air filters, those dirty particles can still move into the inside of your filter and then end up getting sucked into your engine. Another one is your hydraulic fluid. Good rule of thumb is on these clear sight gauges, fill them up to where you can see them just kind of start to the level to rise up in the sight gauge, and that's usually when it's cold. Once the fluid heats up, you'll see the fluid level expand and rise. You don't want to overfill them, because then you're going to have hydraulic fluid leaking out through your cap. Also making sure your hydraulic filter gets replaced and your hydraulic fluid gets changed out when it's supposed to. Other maintenance points would be like the chute rotation chain, keeping it as clean as you can and lubricated. A lot of times they'll just be dry and rusty, and then they just don't last and move as freely. Maintaining tire pressure is another important one. Not only is it important for safety, it's important for fuel economy and wear of your tires. Keeping an eye on your dust caps, your wheel bearing dust caps, to make sure they don't fall off. If they fall off, you can get moisture and debris inside the bearings, which can definitely cause it to fail prematurely. And honestly, it's a safety risk, because if the bearings burn up, it could cause some damage and the wheel could fall off the machine. So making sure your wheel bearings are serviced is another important one. Basically, your belts. You've got typically an engine has an accessory belt, making sure that that is in good condition and tensioned properly. That's going to make sure your accessories are turning the way they're supposed to. For example, this thing has a hydraulic pump driven off the engine belt. It also has a water pump and an alternator, which are important to the operation of the machine. In the event the belts are loose, things aren't going to function properly. Cutter drum drive belt, or cutter disc, depending on the chipper you have, is another important one. Especially when a machine is new or it gets a new belt installed, tension needs to be checked regularly. I believe it's for the first 50 hours.